welcome to This Just In with This Just In as your host, Justin Core. This is a show where we take a deeper dive into the issues most important to you with the people who bring you those issues and stories. And today, a very special episode with our correspondent, Tom Scott, Bronco sports journalism legend. Tom, thank you.
Okay.
Accept it. Accept the compliment.
I'll take that. All right.
Fantastic. We're going to have a special look ahead to the Bronco football season. But first, Tom, you recently really kind of held down the fort for us as an interim sports director, talking a lot about Bronco football and everything else. How was that contributing on really a daily basis?
It was fun. I mean, it was important that KTVB had sports during the summertime. You can't not do sports at this station.
Right.
And waiting for Jordan to arrive.
Yeah.
I thought it filled in the gap nicely, and it was fun for me. And so, I really enjoyed it.
Did an awesome job, and I mean, you're always there contributing, but having it on a daily basis was really cool. So, no one more qualified to give us a preview of the Bronco football season than this guy, Tom Scott. He's seen a number of them. This season, Tom, the last one for the Broncos in the Mountain West, although with conference realignment, might not be the last one forever, but it is the last one that we can predict. How awkward is it going to be if Boise State, as they're picked to do, wins the conference and then just takes off?
Well, I just try to imagine that podium that they roll out on the turf, and then everybody gets up there and jams up, and Gloria Nevarez is up there, the commissioner, handing the trophy to Spencer Danielson with Jeremiah Dickey standing alongside, and they'll be pleasant, but it will be awkward because that will be the sayonara. For football.
Yeah. There might be a smile, but it'll be like,
yeah.
Here's your trophy.
Right. Well, Jeremiah will be smiling ear to ear because it's a championship.
It's like, we'll be taking this to the Pac-12. Thank you very much. So let's talk about the excitement level for the fan base. We are seeing almost every home game approaching a sellout already. Even before the season is underway. We hadn't seen that for a number of years, but we saw it last year.
Right.
Yeah. If they could do that again, what would it mean for the program, for the team?
Well, I just shows you what a great job they've done with the game experience, with the fan experience. Because in this day and age, it's so easy to stay home and watch TV.
Yeah,
because you can see nostrils and everything with the HD.
You got the stats. You maybe have another game up here.
Stats and all the replays and. So for them to sell out 7 games, including the Mountain West Championship game, which by itself was amazing, because they had to sell the stadium from zero for the championship.
They had 6 days or 7 days?
Exactly.
About a week. Yeah.
So they have to sell it from zero, and they did it. And in the previous games that have been held there, championship games, it's been 24,000. Then they have 36 for the championship game. So this season, you take out the north end zone because the construction there. So the seating capacity is reduced to less than 33. It's down about probably 3,000. But hey, they're filling up, and they're at over 90% for all 6 games so far.
Yeah, spectacular. And that'll just continue to increase. So we're going to talk about and break down the schedule, and we're going to do predictions. But first, we'll kind of go position group by position group. We'll start with the offense, and we'll start with the running back room. They are without maybe their best player ever, Ashton Jeanty, going to be starring.
Confirmed.
Yes. He's going to be starring as much as he can for the Raiders next year, rather this season. So Sire Gaines cannot fully fill his shoes on his own.
He doesn't need to. I think that's the key. And in fall camp, it's been all about Sire Gaines and Malik Sherrod, the transfer from Fresno State. But you've got Breezy Dubar.
Yes.
I mean, he's complicating this procedure because he's really good too. And they talk about maybe 2,000-yard rushers instead of 2,600 from one guy, Jeanty last year. They might have 2,000-yard rushers this year. They're capable of doing that. Breezy wants to be one of them.
Yeah.
It's going to be Sire Gaines and Malik Sherrod or some combination of the three of them, Breezy Dubar, and then Dylan Riley is a quality back too. So they are 4 deep in that room.
Yeah.
And I think the running game is going to prosper, and they'll be able to change things up.
Yeah, and you'll have guys probably fresher, right? Because instead of Ashton Genty, toting the rock 35 times, you got a guy who carries it, maybe 15, 20, a guy who maybe carries it 10, 12, a guy who maybe carries it 8 to 10. They're coming fresh off the bench. They bring different skill sets. So, yeah, and you see that a lot more just in college football nowadays. Ashton Genty, for many reasons, was an anomaly, but being like that feature back that you just feed the ball to, you just don't see that anymore.
But he was, Ashton was pretty banged up toward the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so, for example, in the Wyoming game last year, Boise State is trailing 13 to 10 in the fourth quarter, trailing in, a crucial game. And Ashton just needs to come out for a couple of plays because he is just, in the fourth quarter, he is just toting the rock. So they put in Breezy Dubar, and Breezy scores the ultimate winning touchdown. So they have faith in him.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, you talked about the running game really excelling. Probably the biggest part of that, no offense to that running back room, is the offensive line. Oh, I'm skipping ahead. Never mind. We'll get to the O-line in a second.
Okay.
Sorry. Everybody wants to talk about quarterbacks. I want to talk about the O-line as a former O-lineman. Barely. So let's talk about Maddox Madsen. You said he needs to make this his team, or rather, this is his team. What does that mean? What does he need to do?
Well, it means that he's kind of the focal point of the offense.
Yeah.
And Spencer Danielson told him that it is his team. And if you look at what's happened with Maddox the past 2 years, in 2023, he essentially beats out Taylon Green mid-season before he gets injured. Just when he beats out Green, he gets injured. Then Green transfers, and then Malachi Nelson comes in from USC last year.
Right.
And it's going to be Malachi Nelson,
Right,
of course.
yeah.
I mean, he's a 5-star recruit.
Yeah,
from
look at all the
USC.
stars he's got. Yeah.
Oh, Maddox clearly beat him out.
Yeah.
Last year, and it's because he makes good decisions. So he just
Right.
he'll be a junior this year. It seems like he should be older than that, but he's only a junior. But he just needs to take the next step.
Yeah.
And he's fully capable of that because he's learned so much and he makes good decisions out there. He takes care of the ball. The half of his interceptions last year, he only had 6, and half of them came in the fourth quarter of the Penn State game when the Broncos were pressing.
Right, when they're going
he's
for broke. Yeah.
He's a very efficient quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at him, people are like, man, he's kind of short,
Right.
kind of stocky, looks like a mad dog, which is his nickname. So he maybe doesn't have that build of the quarterback they want. But again, he just makes plays, and he just makes the right decision,
Right.
which for this offense and these coaches, that's number one far and away.
He's heady and he's unflappable.
Yeah, which sounds a little like Kellen Moore. Not comparing him to
Right.
Kellen Moore.
That's not fair.
But that intangible,
Right.
just making the right decision at the right time.
Yeah.
Critical. He can get some help from his wideouts. Latrell Caples is back at the tight end position. Matt Lauder, just a great target for him. Though sort of a drop off from those two to the rest as far as production goes. Can they do enough? Is that going to be enough?
Well, yeah, I mean previous production because
Right.
one of the revelations in fall camp this year has been Chris Marshall. Chris Marshall, the former 5-star wide receiver, started Texas A&M, began at Texas A&M, then went to Ole Miss, kind of flamed out, went to a junior college, and was kind of on his last chance here last year. So he came in, he had 3 catches for 13 yards last year, and he was injured. Yeah. So you're going, all right, well, that's the breaks. You take a chance. But this year in fall camp, he has been the talk of the town, and
Nice.
he could be the number 1 receiver. Chris Marshall does things that nobody else can do.
Wow. And then, again, getting a guy like Lauder back. People are probably looking to wideouts, but Boise State, it just seems, and I'm not an expert, but they just seem to know how to utilize great tight ends and get them the football.
Right, and the fans are always shouting from the stands, throw to the tight end, throw to the tight
It's like,
end.
well, he's got to be open. Yeah.
And there have been years where they didn't throw much to the tight end, but last year they did, and Lauder made a count with 47 catches, which is a tight end record at Boise State. So he's definitely an NFL prospect.
So the backbone of the offense, though, now we can get to the offensive line. Spectacular last year. I just look at them getting older, maybe getting better, losing some, but replacing those guys. Can this O-line, which was, again, amazing last year, be even better this year?
Yes, but there's a question right now at right tackle.
Okay.
Hall Schmidt started most of last year, but he's been pressed by Dalen Matoyer, and they really, they're waiting to see what happens at right tackle. But on the other side, Cage Casey, he's a potential first-round pick.
Wow.
And
he could have been just a draft pick last year if he came out early, but was like, I'm going to stick around and now maybe go in the first round.
Right.
Bonkers.
Yeah, and you've got probably Tyler Kyneth at replacing Ben Dooley. And Tyler Kyneth is good. Mason Randolph at center. He's great.
You're set.
And
You're
Roger
set.
Carry-On at right guard. So you've got a solid, very solid offensive line. You've got depth there too, but the right tackle position is still a wait and see.
Yeah. Left tackle may be more important, but you still need that. Coaching is set. I don't know if you've heard about this guy. Let me get his name right. Spencer Danielson. Also, you pointed this out. They retained 9 of their 10 coaches. Maybe the best young coach in the business with Danielson. So consistency there. They're keeping guys around the program. How big is that going to be this year?
Well, you look at the transfer portal, and Boise State's had success in the transfer portal in keeping guys from going to the transfer portal.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been remarkable at the group of 5 level, and it's the same thing with coaches. 9 of 10 coming back, and the one who isn't coming back is still around. Dirk Cutter.
Right,
Dirk Cutter is still an advisor to the program. So you've got the whole coaching staff coming back, and that is unheard of at the group of 5 level because if you've got a successful assistant coach, there's some big money usually waiting for that guy at a higher level, but they're all still here. And so continuity is huge. This will be Nate Potter's first year as offensive coordinator, but he's surrounded by good people. Let's say that. So I feel good about that.
The local guy, Timberline's finest.
That's
That
right.
is awesome to
That's
see
right.
him still here as the OC, and he learned from one of the best of all time at Boise State, Dirk Cutter. So
Right.
they were bringing him along with the intent that he was going to be that guy this year. All right, we continue our Bronco football preview with a look at the defense and special teams next on This Just In. Welcome back to This Just In. Tom Scott, Bronco journalism legend, joining us for our Bronco football season preview. Let's talk some defense. And we start with the D-line. Ahmed Hassanin gone, playing for the Lions, dealing with an injury right now. But a lot of transfers arrive, and Jaden Virgin Morgan is back, so is Braxton Feely. How's this D-line look to you, Tom?
It will be a work in progress because we don't know who's going to be there. But there are lots. The key is there are lots of candidates at that spot. Braxton Feely coming back, that makes a big difference.
Huge.
And then on the other side of Jaden Virgin Morgan, you got Max Stiege, the German, and Malachi Williams, transfer from Idaho.
Yes.
So
Who's a
think,
baller?
Yes. So I think they're going to be set on the edges at defensive end, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then at the other tackle spot, there's David Latu from BYU. Deion Washington from Hawaii, who transferred in. Both of those are transfers. And then 2 guys who were in the program, Lopez Sanusi and Michael Madry. So there will be some combination of those guys. Now, what they want to do is get a rotation of 4, two rotations of 4 on the defensive line so they can keep them fresh.
Wow.
And they may have the guys to do it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So it seems like they got stars as well with the Jaden Virgin, Morgan, and Braxton Feely, but keeping guys fresh in there, that's going to be huge.
It's like, in the days of Shea McClellan and Ryan Winterswijk and all those guys, they would shuffle in a whole new defensive line. You know, there'd be 4 guys come out and 4 guys come in, and that D line was always fresh in the Coach Pete days.
Yeah, going to be huge in the fourth quarter against running teams like maybe Notre Dame. We'll talk more about that game in a second. First, more question marks, though, at linebacker here, Tom. Andrew Simpson gone. Are they going to be okay?
Yeah, I think so. I think Marco Notriani is such a leader, and I think he's just primed for a big year. And then Jake Ripp will probably step into Andrew Simpson's spot. And he may not be as good as Andrew Simpson, but he's got experience. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Ripp plays.
Can hold it down. 3 of your top 4 tacklers return from the secondary. Ty Benefield, Zion Washington, Amarian McCoy, all in the secondary. Is this unit going to be a strength for Boise State?
I think it will. Whereas last year, especially on deep balls, there were some questions and there were some concerns, and they gave up some big plays. But on the other hand, Amarian McCoy returns as the nation's leader in, quote, incompletions forced. That doesn't mean breaking up passes, but that means changing a guy's route or getting in his way and incompletions forced. So it's
Tom, you're a stat guy, and I love that you're introducing new stats now. I thought you were going to say pass breakups, and it's like incompletions forced. Like, all right.
It's a new one on me. You'll have to look it up to see exactly what that means.
That sounds right.
But it's still good. And then Jeremiah Irby, he had a strong finish last year with the interception in the Mountain West Championship game.
Yeah.
And so I think that, just being a year older, those 2 guys, and Amarian McCoy getting that extra year because of the junior college ruling. Mm-hmm. So those 2 guys are set. And then Ty Benefield, he's a great safety, and Zion Washington. Yeah. I think the secondary will be a strength, whereas it was kind of hot and cold last year.
Yeah, and it feels like, boy, in today's college football, you have a lot of guys in that secondary that can kind of help out, maybe as a linebacker type as well. You also have linebackers that can help on a defensive line, vice versa. It just seems like defenses now have so many kind of, and I say this in a good way, physical freaks who can play like in various positions. You have a guy who can be a like hybrid linebacker, D-line, linebacker, defensive back, safety / corner, and it seems like Boise State has a number of those guys that can kind of be all over to confuse offenses.
Yeah, and then there's the nickel spot that we didn't talk about. And Devon Banks, who played a lot of corner last year, was penciled in as the starter, but there's a good competition there with Jaden Mickey from Notre Dame. And,
And that's probably a good sign. The fact that you have guys with the skills and the ability to compete for a starting spot there. Boy, we talked about question marks. A lot of question marks on special teams with the kicker and the punter. New kicker, Jonah Dalmas, lost him to graduation, then our all-world punter to the transfer portal. He's headed to Oregon. How worried should people be?
I don't think too worried. I mean, Jonah Dalmas was a rock for 5 years.
Yeah.
And the school's all-time leading scorer, Mountain West all-time leading scorer. But that would be if there is concern, that would be the spot, because Colton Boomer comes in from UCF.
Great name, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I remember his name from 2 years ago when he kicked the winning field goal against Boise State. Now he's got to kick one for the Broncos. but he was a little bit inconsistent in his final year at UCF. And then Jarrett Reeser, from transfer from San Diego State, who was in the program last year, did some kicking off. They're competing for that kicking spot, but they need one of them to step up and really be consistent. And whoever that is will win the job, and that may come right down to kickoff in Tampa. But the punter, I feel really good about the punting situation, because one Aussie goes to Oregon and another one comes in from Weber State.
I appreciate you dropping your fake American accent to do your true Australian accent, Tommy.
But Oscar Doyle comes in from Weber State. He's an Australian, and there's we were talking off camera. There are Australians all over
college. The majority of starting punters are Australians. They have a kicking school down there in Australia, and coaches literally sight unseen, like that kicking school would just be like, "We'll send you one. We can vouch for him."
Yeah.
And it's like they look at tape and it's like, "Looks good."
And I think the Big Sky can vouch for Oscar Doyle.
Yeah. And
because
this guy even has experience in the college game.
Yeah, for Weber, he averaged 44.4 yards per punt last year.
Sounds
That's
plenty
fine.
good.
That's fine.
Yeah. So they'll be all right. Alrighty, we're gonna have predictions for the season. How good will the Broncos be? Tom will tell you. Coming up next.
I'll try.
Just In. Welcome back to This Just In our Bronco football season preview spectacular, not the actual name, with Tom Scott. That is his actual name. Let's break down the schedule, and then we're going to have a record prediction. So let's take a look. Of course, they open up at South Florida there. Then you got Eastern Washington at home, and on and on and on. Tom and I were just talking about how the schedule sort of sets up good for Boise State. Tom, you're looking at that South Florida game right off the bat.
I think you should take nothing for granted with that game. The point spread is down to 6.5 points.
And that keeps shrinking.
Yeah, exactly. And South Florida, that's one of those group of 5 teams that wants to be like Boise State, and one way to be like Boise State is to beat Boise State. So they are truly fired up down there for this game.
Yeah, and it's going to be hot and humid down there in Tampa.
I'm not worried about the effect of the weather, because the Inferno practices and Boise State's history of opening in environments like that, and they've done pretty well. But just the quality and the depth of South Florida and their big giant quarterback Byron Brown, who's one of he's on the freaks list as one of the strength freaks of college football.
Jeez. So he was out last year, but in 2023, 3,000 yards passing, 800 yards rushing. It's like, geez, did anybody else make a play for that offense? They didn't need to.
Exactly.
So don't take that for granted. Then you got Eastern Washington, the home opener. That's a win. I'm looking at sort of like trap games at Air Force, always tough because they run that triple option. But look at this. You got 2 weeks to prepare for it. And then at San Diego State, that could be tough. You got 2 weeks to prepare. And UNLV, maybe the best other team in the Mountain West, you got that at home. So really shaping up well for Boise State, at least in conference.
I think that's a good point. If you took these teams in red here, the home games, and flipped them to road games, then you'd have some interesting, that would be tough on the road.
State,
UNLV, Fresno, Colorado State, be tough on the road. So,
but you got them all at home.
But they're at home, so that shakes out nicely. Air Force, always tricky with the triple option. However, they've got a lot of new faces, and it's early in the season. And Boise State, with its experience and with all these players coming back, should be in good form out of the gate.
The game that a lot of people are circling,
that
you can watch right here on KTVB at Notre Dame. Tom, Broncos are not going to be favored in that game. It's the only game, at least early on, that Vegas says they're going to lose. Do they have a puncher's chance, though?
They do. Yeah, they have a puncher's chance. They have to play a perfect game. And they could have beaten Oregon last year had special teams played a perfect game. Special teams, 2 touchdowns on special teams. Otherwise, that's a win. So if they can go back there and play their A-plus game, they'd have a puncher's chance to win. And even without that, if they're within 10 points of them, that game could pay dividends all the way through the season, just the way Oregon did last year.
Notre Dame, just such a great team at the fundamentals, and that running game, best in the nation. Oh my gosh! So that's going to be tough. But if they have an 8-man rotation at D-line, maybe they're there in the fourth quarter. So what do you think record-wise? What does Boise State do?
I'm looking, I hate to say it, but I'm thinking 11-1.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always say 10-2 because they may fall somewhere where they shouldn't.
Maybe
they may lose a game that they shouldn't lose.
But we've looked at those potential trap games, and it seems like, again, the record, the schedule is in their favor with 2 weeks preparing for San Diego State at Air Force. You got UNLV at home. So, I'm going to agree with you, Tom. I know Vegas is saying that as well, 11-1, but it's like that looks like an 11-1.
That's what it looks like,
an 11-1 schedule for Boise State. So they would go to that Mountain West title game. Do you see them winning it again and getting into the playoffs again?
Yeah, and If they were 10-2, that would be a tricky game
At
there
Utah State.
because it's Bronco Mendenhall's first year at Utah State, and by that time, 12 games into the season, he may have them rocking. So
He knows how to
there's that
coach teams in
possibility.
Utah.
But let's say it's 11-1, and they're undefeated in conference. They play again the following week on the blue turf against.
Probably
Who
UNLV.
knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel good about their chances, and if they're 12-1 after a win in the Mountain West Championship game, I feel really good about them being in the CFP again.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
take it to the bank, everybody.
Yeah, well,
Tom's got
don't do
absolutely
that.
guaranteeing.
No.
Bet your house on that. Boise State going back to the playoffs.
But they're heavily favored,
Yeah.
in, to be that team.
Tom, thank you so much. Hey, do you have a record prediction? Text it to us, 208-321-5614, #JustIN. Tom, you're the best. Can't wait for football season. See you next time.